London. Bring it back. All right, cool. For those of you guys who don't know, this is Kinsey, and I feel like I'm going to screw up how you say the last name, but Guenther.
Guenther.
I can spell it, but I just can't say it. Guenther. Kinsey Guenther, pretty cool. She's been an owner for 10 years now. She's from 9 years. All right, I might screw up some facts. And she actually started in Cincinnati, which for those of you guys who don't know, I'm from Dayton. Zelm actually ran an office in Cincinnati, and Dayton and Cincy are about an hour apart, which means she knows where Skyline's at.
Yeah.
And anyway, okay, cool. But yeah, she's been an owner for 9 years. She actually started in Roadshow. And I think some of you guys remember me talking about DirecTV. Mm-hmm. What did I say about DirecTV?
It was awful. It was awful.
It was hard.
That was the easiest thing. It was easier than dropship.
No, that's 100% false.
It was
Absolutely.
harder than dropship. Okay, significantly harder than dropship. And Roadshow was a lot of things. It was makeup. It was hair products. It was pillows. It was warm massage stingers. What else?
It was fitness equipment. It was, reusable lint rollers. It was cleaning supplies. It was camping equipment.
It was a bunch of random products. Okay. And look, so that's the program that she started in, and she became an owner in. And she promoted a lot of outside deals in that program. And the opportunity really hasn't changed in the sense of how you promote people, you grow leaders, that's all the same. But imagine trying to promote people and you're selling like all these little trinkets of items, right? And the profits, I don't know how else to say it, but they weren't as high as DTV, and they were just not good. Right?
Yeah.
Like people did not come close to make the paychecks that we make here in dropship. Okay.
Our average guy made $60 a day.
Oh.
The average, what is that, $360 a week?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
And I remember when I was a rep and even when I was an owner and I would talk to the people that did Roadshow. You guys don't see it as much anymore. After COVID, I think it even went more away, but then a lot of them transitioned to dropship. I remember thinking like the people that worked it were like, I mean, you guys are solid. Like they would tell me about their pay structure. I'm like, I don't know how you're that motivated. Someone's doing a really, really good job to motivate you. They're like, but like, just some of them were just studs. And I bring that up because here's what happens when you succeed in maybe an industry that doesn't have all the room for growth. Like right now in dropship, there's people that can fly, and there doesn't mean that they're that great, which is great. A lot of us have the opportunity where you don't have to be the best of the best of the best to grow. But like back then in Roadshow, you definitely had to be on point in order to grow. And I think all that does is it builds a skill set to when then you transition right into a campaign like dropship, where you can do significantly well. Which Kinsey runs a top office. She has over 130,000, right? Over 130 grand saved up. Who would like 130 grand saved up? Like, I'd say that's a decent amount of cash, okay? She has 10 outside deals, which override wise, I didn't ask her, but I'm assuming it's probably $3,000-$4,000 plus.
Yeah, about 5.
Okay, so about $5,000 coming in monthly in residuals. And again, I know we've been talking a lot about the idea of passive income and making residual income. Just the idea of making $5,000, whether she's running her office or not at the moment, okay, that income is still coming in. Okay, and then it's like, money. All right, and hey, and here's in my opinion what's gonna happen, and I've said this about a few of the folks that have come from Roadshow. Like, who remembers Amani that was here a couple months ago? Same deal as Amani. I think in a couple years we'll see where her and Amani specifically will just blow up, because I think they've built a skill set where I personally asked Kinsey a lot of questions about the business to learn from. Amani, same deal, because I just think they think about the business way different. And I mean, I kind of thought you were a regional. I thought Amani was a regional as well, and then I found out she had 4 outside deals. I'm like, wow, what the fuck? I thought you were regional. But I thought she was a regional as well. Not because maybe of the structure, but of the way that someone thinks. I think it says a lot about the individual, and I think it comes from the program that she came from, which by default, okay, because she thinks at such a higher level, and now in the right program will absolutely explode. So I'm excited to actually watch it, and I'm excited to make the call. Okay, because then when it happens, I'm like, I fucking called it 2 years ago. When Kinsey blows up, I'm like, I fucking said it 2 years ago. Anyway, so I'm kind of excited for that. But I asked her to kind of share her story a little bit, because it is a little bit interesting, her background. Like her dad is a very, very successful multi-millionaire. She was talking about his dad. She was golfing with her dad a couple weeks ago, right? And he said he made $1.5 million in one weekend. From selling some type of property. Does a lot of things. She estimated, we don't 100% know, his net worth is anywhere between $30 to $40 million. Million, yeah. I think that's 8 figures. Okay, so not even 7, above 6. So very successful, I think, family background, and she still has made the decision to say, hey, I'm gonna create my own thing. I'm gonna have my own identity and be successful in a different realm, not just mooch off my father, whose net worth is insane. I even asked her, why in the world don't you just live off of that? That's a shitload of money. But anyway, so pretty cool to kind of see her background and her mindset. So I'm excited to kind of let her speak to you guys and kind of hear a little bit more in depth about her story, and then whatever else she wants to share with us. So Ms. Kinsey, cool. The floor is yours.
I really appreciate it. I was here in November for one day. Like I flew in, I was like, I just want to soak up everything that you guys have going on, and steal it and take it back. And then I had a chance to come back, this time. And I want to say thank you. Everybody's been, super welcoming and super friendly and shared all your tidbits with me. So I really, really, really appreciate that. I think that is ultimately my favorite thing about this business, is just the fact that all you have to do is hop on a plane or pick up a phone, and literally you can have coaching and consulting at your fingertips for free. I don't know if you guys, have ever looked it up, but Inc. magazine did a whole article about how the average consultant charges $192 a minute. And I've been here for 2 days. So imagine what I would have to pay to Raf or Carlos or, anybody in this office from a consulting perspective had I needed business consulting. But all I had to do was, jump on a flight and hop down here and hang out for a couple of days to get coaching, which I think is pretty cool. And I didn't even have to do that. I could have just picked up the phone and Raf would have answered and, answered all my questions. So I think, I'm saying all those things because I think that starting with everything that you do with like a sense of appreciation and where you are and understanding what you have in front of you and not taking advantage of it in a negative way, but taking advantage of it in a positive way, like looking at it and saying, okay, can I get the most out of this, is like the most important thing. So Raf asked me to share my backstory a little bit. I think, he asked me the question yesterday, like, why didn't I just work with my dad? And, so my dad has owned a lot of different businesses. Some were successful, some went under. Like most entrepreneurs, you have to fail several times before you succeed. And if you guys know somebody that owns a company, you've probably seen that. Some of the companies that he had were, didn't make money. Some of them broke even. Some of them made a little bit of money. But they were never really that successful in the long run. So until the age of 11, we lived off of like $35,000 a year. So, we lived a really, really humble life. We had like a nice home, but, nothing special. We lived a really humble life because my dad had this dream. He wanted to start this liquor, beer, and wine operation that's retail, wholesale, distributorship, all this stuff, right? And long story short, we took every single penny that he was making and saved it, because obviously usually when you start any company, it costs a ton of money up front to start that company. So he had to buy the land, and then he had to build the building, and then you had to buy all the inventory. So if you guys know anything about that industry, you're talking about anywhere between $1 and $3 million out of the gates just to get it started before you've sold $1 worth of stuff, right? So he took literally our entire life savings and put it into this business in 2001, which is a huge, leap of faith. And so, like every picture I have from the age of like 11 to 15 is me like stocking shelves and sweeping and like, and like working in, in the store with them. Like every meal that I had was in the store. Like it was we like woke up there and hung out there and went to sleep there like every day, you know? And so I think he taught kind of that work ethic of like, you gotta, if you're gonna be good at something, you gotta put everything that you've got into it, like you gotta go all in. And obviously he really did that. He showed us that example of closing your back door, because he took everything that we had and said, this is it. Like, we're taking out a line of credit for $1 million and we're gonna take the $1 million that we have, and we're literally, like, if this doesn't succeed, we're screwed. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think when you do that, when you have that attitude, what do you guys think the result is?
You can't lose.
You can't.
You have to make it.
Yeah, your back's against the wall, and most people really succeed under pressure like that, right? Where you put yourself in like no other option other than to be successful. And so anyways, really long story short, you know, I think he showed that. And so, you know, as I graduated college, I did not graduate with a business degree. I graduated with the stupidest degree ever, according to Mr. Rath back there, you know. You gotta call him out, you know. He didn't listen to me at all.
What degree?
I graduated with exercise science and physical therapy. So
That's
it's not
a
dumb degree.
he was making fun of me last night. I'm just giving him a hard time right back. But I feel like I've adapted myself into this organization, so I got to be able to like pick on him a little bit, you know.
I was talking about my sister. I asked her what her degree was and say, well, that's the stupidest thing ever. I didn't know that what degree she graduated in. She asked what's her sister studying because she's same college that she went to. I mean, she's the stupidest degree ever, physical therapy or something.
We had a good laugh. I had a good laugh. I think he felt bad, but he did not. Yeah. But no, I mean, but it really, like, I'll tell you that I studied the degree because I loved the classes, not necessarily because that was my future, right? And I really ended up in this business by total happenstance. I moved after college. I moved to Portland, Oregon.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Okay, cool. Love Portland. So I lived, like, very wild story. Won't tell you guys everything, but basically I lived in a tent for like 6 months. I don't know. Right, okay. Like, marching to the beat of my own drum. Like, not the person I am today. But anyways, it was a really good experience. Learned a lot. I did wedding planning while I was out there, which was a cool industry to get into, but definitely not, you know, what I wanted long term. And then I was kind of like, okay, I got to figure out my life. I was 22 years old, had no plan on what I was going to do next. My original thought was, you know, I'm going to go back and get further education and maybe get my physical therapy degree, or who knows, I don't know. But I needed some time to figure that out, and so I literally just started applying all over the place. So I had friends that lived in Cincinnati, I had friends that lived in New York and Atlanta, and then I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina originally. So I just literally sent out 168 resumes and was like, good luck. And this was in 2012, so the economy really hadn't come back yet. The unemployment rate was 14.9% when I was applying for jobs, so I sent out 168 resumes. How many responses do you guys think I got?
1.
5.
I got 5.
Oh.
Yeah. I got 5 responses.
What do you know what the unemployment rate is now? Just for comparison.
So the unemployment rate right now is 16.1%, which I have it listed to talk about because I think that the long story short of what I want you to take away from today is kind of what I started with, which is like you got to put your back against the wall, and like there can't be any other option when you want to hit a goal. That's got to be the only thing that you focus on. Like that's literally the only thing that matters. And so it is 16.1% right now. Prior to COVID, it was the lowest it's ever been. It was 3.2%. So we had, which is pretty nuts. So long story short, when the unemployment rate's really high, what that means is that there are not a lot of jobs, but there are a lot of people applying for jobs. So naturally, I'm out of college. What do you think everybody expected?
Experience. Need a job.
They needed experience. That's what everyone said to me. You don't have enough experience. You don't have enough. I'm like, how the F am I supposed to get experience, right? Like, somebody, hello, you got to teach me something first, right? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do? And like, I had worked. So I've had a job since I was 16. Again, that was kind of like my dad's deal was, okay, well, I'll help you with college. I'll do these things for you, but you need to like support yourself in everything else that you do. So I had a job throughout high school. I had a job throughout college. I had 2 jobs actually when I was in college, just so I could pay for my sorority and do all the stuff that I wanted to do, right? And anyways, so I thought I had experience, but it wasn't business, right? So I know it's the worst. Thank the Lord, Jess was willing to take a shot on me, right? So I applied for all these positions. I got 5 responses. I was actually in California. I was doing like a trip around the U.S. and I was in California when I got the call to do the the first round interview for this company. And so I literally like boarded a red-eye flight and flew to Cincinnati, Ohio the next day, rented a rental car. I showed up in like flip-flops, no blazer, nothing. I was an hour and a half late because my plane was like I was a total disaster. What? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Kind of like that. I mean, and I had been in California, like, I didn't have any business clothes with me. I was just, like, impulse and, like, okay, somebody's willing to give me a shot. Let's do this. So I applied. I did my 3 rounds of interviews in 3 days, accepted the position on a Thursday. I flew to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where all my stuff was. I packed up a U-Haul, and I moved there the next day. Like, it was a whirlwind, started on that Monday. I know, it's pretty nuts. But I think there's like an important lesson there of I really didn't overthink it either. So again, I think one thing that my dad did a really good job of teaching us was just like if you're gonna do something, just commit yourself to doing it and don't look back. Right. And so I didn't think about it any more than like they said that they're gonna train me. The guy that did my second round interview was really sharp and I was like, okay, I can learn from this guy, like he's gonna help me grow. So why not? Like, I have nothing to lose, and I have everything to gain from this situation. So I just did it. I didn't look back. I didn't make any other choices. I just moved my entire life to Cincinnati, Ohio, right? And then I started in the business. So I started in roadshows, and I know Ralph just kind of talked about it, but roadshows was sales, obviously, just like what we do with, dropship and energy, but it was all these little product lines, and so we would do these little pop-ups for, 2 weeks at a time, and the first product that I worked on was glitter tattoos.
Oh, that was popular.
Like glitter in places like everywhere, like all the time. I would literally walk around and be like, hey, let me see your hand, and like slap a glitter tattoo on them and then try to sell it to them for $20.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Then the next product line I worked on was nail polish.
Okay.
So I would like walk up to a man and be like, hey, let me see your nail. Like put nail polish on him. Okay. It was reusable, it was like refillable nail polish. So that was like the draw again, $20. Then the next product in the product line I built my entire crew on was reusable lint rollers. They were actually pretty sweet. I gotta be honest, right? Like they were legit. But like they were reusable. They are what they are, right? Like I built my entire crew on reusable lint rollers.
What is that?
So lint rollers, you take
you wash it off, yeah.
Oh.
That's
So
the red and
instead
blue
of like
ones?
peeling them, you wash it off.
I never seen
Yeah,
that.
they're incredible.
Do you
See,
still have
you
some?
guys, what?
Do you still have some?
I know, right? I do have a few. I know where to hook you up. So look, you have to have a lot of belief in something. When maybe the product line in front of you doesn't look that great, right? So what Raf's talking about, where I think roadshows really helped me so much, was like I had to have a lot of belief in what I wanted, not necessarily what I was doing. And if you guys have has anybody here read the book Relentless by Tim Grover? Oh my gosh, everybody write that down. Like seriously, such a good book. If you like basketball, you'll like love the book even more. So Tim Grover is like the man behind the scenes of like Kobe and Dwayne Wade and LeBron and all these guys, right? And long story short, chapter 13 talks about like you don't have to love the work, but you have to crave the end result. And I think roadshows was such a good example of that. Like it didn't matter what I was selling. What mattered was the opportunity has always been the same, which is that, in this business, if you commit yourself to putting in sweat equity and you really like learn the business and become a really great influencer or leader of people, you have the opportunity to own a franchise in this business without any capital investment of your own. And I just shared that, my dad built this whole business by putting millions of dollars into it without selling a single item. And you guys have examples of Jess and Alan, who I think just left this morning for Reno. And, Khalil's telling me that he's like paying their lease breakage fees or what, and like, you know, and like moving them clear across the country and paying for everything to get their business up and running, you know, to begin with. And what did they have to put in? Hard work, sweat equity. That's it, right? And so I was really bought into that. Like, that made it all make sense to me. My dad was very negative about this business because he wants me to work for the family company. And really to this day, he's proud, but never satisfied. You know what I mean? Like, like he's proud of me for the success, but he's always like, you know, you cannot. I'm like, all right, Dad, come on. But he boarded a flight and he flew to Cincinnati, and he sat down with Jessica and like grilled her about this business. And he was like, I need to understand, you know, what's going on. And just the second that he started to really realize like what all of this meant, right? Why would the largest retailers in the country want to work with us, right? Of all the companies out there, why would they contract us? Well, we're providing a pure profit business for them, right? Like your little AT&T, you know, center or your energy setup gives money to Sam's Club at zero cost to them every week. Why wouldn't they want to work with us? Or Target or Walmart or whatever retailer you work with, right? It's a no-brainer business model. They don't pay for the people, they don't pay for the inventory, they don't pay for the setup, they don't pay for anything. We just give them money for us to be there. And they would have already, like that space was costing them money regardless, right? So we're literally raising their bottom line no matter what. Then think about AT&T. For a teeny tiny little cost, so I don't know if you guys have ever really just sat down and looked at AT&T as a company. They're the oldest telecommunications company in the US. Their average store location costs them between $1 and $2 million a year to operate. But think about why, right? They have a brick and mortar physical location that costs 20 or 30 grand a month minimum, depending on, again, the city, right? If they're in San Francisco, it's probably like 80 grand a month. They have people. They usually have to have somewhere between 5 and 10 individuals because that store always has to be staffed and they always have to have a manager on duty, whatever. They have physical inventory there inside the store. So at any point in time, they're sitting on probably millions of dollars worth of inventory. They have utilities and they have insurance and they have liability and they have this vault and safe and all these things, right? Of course, it makes sense. You start to do the math, it makes a lot of sense. So here we are at a very low acquisition cost to AT&T. We go inside of a store that they're not paying for. They're not paying, they pay us a small amount in comparison, right? They have no inventory costs other than one giant warehouse where all of the inventory shipped from, or maybe a couple, but again, nominal in comparison. And that's it. I mean, we're literally taking their $2 million and cutting it down to what, maybe 20 grand if you think about it, you know, per person or whatever, like way less in acquisition costs. So it's a no-brainer for them to say, okay, we'll allot $30 million for your business. Okay, we'll grow, you know, all these things, right? And so when my dad started to really realize that and then understand the franchise model that we have and that, you know, all you have to do is put in sweat equity, he was like, this is a no-brainer, right? He shook my hand, he shook Jessica's hand, he got back on a flight and flew off, you know? And he was like, all right, I support you, right? And so then, you know, I went through the rest of the program. So I started in October of 2012. I graduated the program at the end of April of 2013, and then I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I opened my first market there. And then I moved from Minneapolis. So I was there from May of 2013 to January of 2014, and then I moved to Kansas City. So I've been in Kansas City, you know, since then. Yeah.
Why did you move?
Yeah. Why not? So, and I don't mean that in a rhetorical, sarcastic way. I mean, my attitude in this business has been, the answer is yes, the question is when and where. For literally everything. If somebody says road trip, the answer is yes, the question's when and where. If somebody says train somebody, the answer is yes, the question's when and where. If somebody says move, the answer is yes, the question's when and where. I want to follow opportunity, and my attitude is that I can, when I retire, I can live wherever I want, but my 20s are for grinding, my 30s are for investing, and my 40s are for living, you know, and so, and not that I don't live now. I mean, like, you know, I went to the level 2 meeting last night. I brought my husband and kiddos. We're here for a soccer tournament. I guess I should start. That's why we were here in the first place. But we're here for our daughter's soccer tournament. But you know, they bowled on another lane, and I got to hang out. Like, I live, right? Like, I get to incorporate my life and my business together at all times, which I think is so cool, you know, and that's why I love what I do. And I'm afforded the opportunity where, you know, most people would have to take off work. Like, I'm paid to be here right now, right? My office is still running. So I'm on a paid vacation while I also get to learn that I don't have to pay for that learning, right? I get to hang out with awesome people, which is incredible. And I get to hang out with my family at the same, like, what? You know, just, you know, it's so cool. So that's why I moved. I outgrew the territory. The negative with roadshows was the only really way to make money was to run more events. It wasn't necessarily headcount that helped, right? So on dropship, like, you just add more guys, you have a bigger team, and you make more money. It really wasn't like that on roadshows. So I had to add in more stores, and we just didn't have the store count in Minneapolis. But we did in Kansas City. So I needed to grow, and that was the best opportunity at the time. So the answer was yes. The question was when and where. So I moved to Kansas City, and then obviously, so that was in 2014. In 2014, I took over, I was a program manager for a program. So you guys don't really have that here, but because we had so many different product lines, like, you need one person who's an expert at that product line. Now, obviously, Carlos helps so much with the energy program, and he and Jacob kind of run that program, so to speak. Obviously, Bill's kind of like in charge of the dropship program. So there's this idea a little bit, you know, on this side of the business, but definitely not. It was a little bit different. So I had the opportunity all of 2014 and 2015 to travel all across the United States. I trained people, which was really cool. I went to 39 states in a year, which is incredible, right? So again, you know, experienced a ton. But our business was really struggling at the time, I'll be honest. So at the end of 2016, early 2017, I had an opportunity with Jeremy Mosier. Do you guys know who Jeremy is?
No.
So Jeremy is another national consultant, and he's been in the business for a really long time. He's incredible if you haven't ever have a chance to meet him or chat with him. But he do you guys ever get on the DM60 leader calls? No? Okay. All right. So you would know who he is if you get on those, but they're on Wednesdays if you guys ever want to. I'm sure they can give you the links. But anyway, so long story short, he was starting a whole new division, and it was called HSC. So I had the opportunity to jump over to that as home services concierge inside of Sam's Club. So we partnered with all these different home renovation companies, and we would literally do lead generation for these home renovation companies. So like windows, doors, bathrooms, kitchens, you know, water softeners, like you name it, we did it. So we did that for 6 months, and the program completely flopped, right? So again, my attitude in this business has always been the answer is yes, the question's when and where. So I said yes to this opportunity, knowing full and well it was like a test. There was no guarantee, right? We were trying it out. We were gonna see how it worked. We had an idea that it might, but we didn't know, right? And it totally flopped, literally, bottom up, right? So I think that at every point in time, like, and Zach did such a good job of, you know, chatting about this today, like, you always have two choices. You can choose easy or you can choose hard. Hard leads to easy when you choose hard every time, but easy always leads to hard. So the easier choice, honestly, at that point in time would have been to like fold up shop, go get a corporate job somewhere, take my experience and move on, because my entire division had totally flopped, right? But I didn't. And again, hard leads to easy in the long run when you choose hard the first time. So I went back to roadshows, started from nothing, rebuilt my entire crew, you know, all over again, right? But this time it was so much better and so much faster because I was better, right? So your experience also leads to easier things in the long run, because the better you are, the quicker you can, you know, grow, right? So that was 2017, 2018, 2019. 2018, I had the opportunity to launch the Walmart program. So I was the division head for Walmart. It was incredible. We literally rolled out Walmart all across the country. We were running 300 events. Like, it was incredible. We used to do show style. So if you guys have ever been into Walmart, we were the guys like passed out the tickets and then gathered a crowd of 30 people and like got you to raise your hand and like buy shit from us. It was awesome, right? Again though, like how much I mean, like you just, like I was taking kids that had their master's degree and like putting them in a Walmart to pass out tickets and like, I mean, not as sexy of a product line as AT&T, I'll be honest. Like iPhone 12s and S21s, I'll take those all day long in comparison to like a reusable hot pack that you like click the disc and, you know, we're like a $30 cleaning supply. Like that's what we sold, right? I wouldn't change it for the world because I think it made me really, really adaptable, but it was not super sexy, let's be honest, right? And then obviously COVID really impacted us. So I know COVID, you know, impacted the business kind of overall, but really for the better. For most people, for us, it kind of shut everything down. So we couldn't run that industry. So then we tried door to door for a little while. Then we did like set up events at gas stations for a little while. Then we set up events outside of Sam's Club and, you know, grocery stores and all this stuff for a little while. And then we had an opportunity in September to get involved in dropship. And again, I think this just goes back to like at some point I just really closed my door and I was like this, the answer is yes, the question's when and where, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, it matters the business opportunity that we have. And so here we are, started in September, you know, in dropship with one event and one person, myself, just me alone, then Wolf, and then Kyle, who we just promoted. She and I started, you know, together, and then here we are, you know, we just promoted Kyle. We're promoting another, you know, individual in 2 weeks from now. We have 30 leaders in our office now. We're doing 150, 200 lines every week, you know, growing in that program. We have a whole nother business that we're growing to on Car Keys Express also. So, what?
I saw these in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I really like the car keys business. So, you know, I think that when I take it all back and just kind of like some massive takeaways, you know, I think the first thing that I feel a ton of appreciation about is being able to surround yourself with really great people. So you guys have a really killer office, but if you know anything about basketball, I'm going to use a basketball analogy. So there's 5 guys that go onto the court at any given time on basketball. You have the point guard. Who else do you have? Shooting. You guys get it? Okay. So think about your circle of 5, just like that in business. So you need your point guard. That's probably your mastermind, right? That's like your go-to person. That's a person that like ride or die, side by side. Like, you know, you can go to them for literally anything, right? Then you need 4 other people that challenge you a lot, right? So you need someone who's similar to you and has been through similar experiences that you can relate a lot to. That person's going to help, you know, kind of guide you along the way because you guys are very similar. Then you need someone who is totally opposite. Literally the pure opposite form of who you are. Then you need somebody who like really rubs you the wrong way. They like get in under your skin, they like shove their foot up your butt, like they are like really intense with like they're like in your face, they like hurt your feelings, whatever, right? You need the person that's like gonna lay down the hammer for you. And then you need a cheerleader. Like you need the person that's always like your rah-rah, like, you know, motivator, whatever. But you need that from all different sources, and it's so good to get outside of your organization for doing that. So you guys have such a incredible blessing here, having 6 owners here at all times and road trips coming in and out and so many incredible people. But there's also, out of the 6 owners that are here, there's 196 owners across the country, right? So there's 190 other people that you probably haven't even met yet or don't even know. So it's also so incredible to like reach out to those individuals and start to surround yourself with this team of constant networking, constant, you know, coaching and stuff like that to get you guys to the next level. Because again, that's how you grow the most. And that's the thing I'm the most appreciative about the business is my dad started this company all by himself. He's never had any coaching whatsoever. No one ever helped him. If he failed on his own accord. That was it, right? And yet in our industry, you can literally call somebody and say, instead of failing, teach me what you did so I don't have to make that same mistake at any given time, right? The second, you know, really big takeaway that I want to talk about is like closing your back door. So I know I mentioned this yesterday in the level 2 leaders meeting, but you know, I think perspective has such a huge part to do with your level of success. It's just realizing what you have around you. You know, like dropship has been the best thing that's ever happened. but it's so funny, like I didn't know anything different than roadshows, so I was so appreciative of roadshows too, right? Like if you'd asked me 3 years ago to talk about my story, I would tell you how amazing roadshows was and everything that I've learned and how great it made me. Because again, it's all perspective. So, you know what? We've never had a better time in this business to grow, literally ever. And I think that's you know, it's such an interesting spot to be. And I'm sure you guys have probably heard this analogy before, but like when the pot gets hot in poker, what do? You double down, right? Why?
Gives you better odds.
Gives you better odds, you're probably gonna win the pot. And that's also true in business. So we have more growth than we've ever had. We have more stores than we've ever had. We have a more clear path for growing than we've ever had. So what do you guys have to do with that?
Grow.
You just have to, you have to go all in. Honestly, that's it. You gotta be, I like it, Erin. You just gotta push it. You gotta go all in, right? And that commitment, you know, it might be like a little bit risky, and Maud talked a little bit about doubt yesterday. You might doubt yourself or whatever, but like you can be certain of one thing. You can be certain that when you go all in, you'll figure it out. There's nothing else. You can be certain of yourself. And that's the coolest part, is that, you know, we have incredible clients and incredible product lines and incredible, you know, opportunity. But at the end of the day, you create your own path, which, you know, nobody else is making your goals for you. You're creating them for yourself. And then the third thing is that I think one thing that's really helped me a lot has been taking a lot of ownership over my team and my growth. And that starts with accountability, like starting with what do I suck at first. Because there is absolutely no growth in the comfort zone, period. You don't grow by looking at what you're good at. You don't grow by getting an accolade every day. You don't grow by standing in front of the high roller speech. As those things are good and you should continue to work for them, you should be the person that pulls, you know, Raph or Zach or Maud or, you know, Zelma aside and says, or Carlos, and says, what do I suck at? Like, rip me to shreds. Like, I need to get better. And always looking to grow. And if you like to work out in this room, you already do that physically. You show up to the gym every day and you run or you lift weights to the point where your muscles are sore and your body hurts and you're sweating and you're tired, right? So you're already doing that because those little rips and tears that are happening along the way are making your muscles stronger. You're the worker outer, right? Or somebody who's a fighter? We got a fighter in here, yeah? Okay, yeah. He gets beat up, like actually physically beat up, you know, but
I have a pretty face. I'm gonna get touchdown.
but you get it, right? Like you already do this in physicality. If you're a parent, you definitely do this with your kiddos, right? You get beat up by your kids all the time, right?
Yes.
Like we have a 13-year-old, like teenager years are very real, you know? Just get excited, just wait for it, Zach, it's happening, it will happen to you, you know? But do this in business, right? Like do this to yourself, like create like a pressure pot for yourself. Put your back against the wall. I don't know your name yet, but what's your name? DeMarcus. So DeMarcus said that. He was like, put your back against the wall, like create like a pressure pot for yourself where all you're doing is looking at your weaknesses and saying, man, how can I get better? Right? And that might mean that you need more personal development. That might mean you need more accountability to yourself. That might mean you need some better goals. That might mean you need to think way bigger. That might mean you have a bad attitude. That might mean, I don't know, right? But I guarantee when you start to really take ownership over that and you say, hey, you know, my team's gonna get better when I get better first, right? I raise my level of leadership, and you commit yourself to whatever those goals are and you go all in, that's where you're gonna see the most growth. So I'm really excited and humbled that, you know, Raph asked me to speak today because honestly, I'm here to learn from you guys. So, you know, thank you for everything that you taught me. I really do appreciate it. But if I could leave you with one thing, it would be like, there's no better time than now, but no one's going to do it for you other than, you know, for yourself. So you got to really think about how committed you are, how much you've gone all in, how much you've closed your back door. I think there's a really bad culture in the millennial population of the grass is greener on the other side. But the grass is greener where you water it. And you know, you're the only person that waters it. No one else does that for you. So it starts with your commitment level. Juice?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted me to go over, talk about? No? I think we're done. I overtalked, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I overdicked around.
Everyone already went. We can do a kind of a Q&A since if you will, just look at the lineup, look how far away your store is, and if you're the only one that's there, okay, and then you know what time you need to leave by to get there, okay. So if you're like in Denton, you got a 50-minute drive. Sherman,
How
you
far
got
is
an hour.
Grapevine?
Look it up.
Grapevine is like 15, 20 minutes. It's close. It's really right up the street.
Hello.
Are we?
What's that?
Like I've already done the opening on mine. Like I'm like,
What do you mean? Her store. She was
where am I at? Oh yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be close.
My brother.
for them. One second. Wait, let him.
Addison, 15 minutes away.
And then we'll. I want
I'm not gonna be Addison.
They'll put me in the same.
Addison, oh yeah.
I've never been there. But that's 2 hours away from my house. So
Get them, get them.
Better get over that.
you can stay over there.
You wanna stop it?
Give me a shot.
Wait, give me 4.